I've been talking with a lot of entrepreneurs lately, and a lot of them I'm finding, even if they're pretty successful on the outside, they're just working way too hard for way too little. And so that's why I've been putting together a plan. I'm like, what have I done that seems to have worked fairly well that these people are not quite getting just yet? And so I put a plan together about how to 10x your business while actually doing less. And so I've built two businesses now that have each crossed over $200 million in total sales. So the first one I started building back in 2012 or so. And that one, I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't really know what I'm doing. But back then, it was just complete chaos. So we built this thing like a rocket ship, passed through $100 million in total sales, and eventually did over $200 million in total sales. But the whole time, it felt like I was just barely holding on. I was literally like losing hair and losing weight, and it was so stressful. And so I took all of those lessons, and I was working really hard, and applied them to a new business, the second one that has crossed a lot of sales. And that one is more profitable, more consistent, more sustainable, is already far surpassed. Now it's about double the size in terms of annual revenue of that last business, and I work a fraction of the amount of time. And so what I want to break down for you is, how is that possible? And so the first part of this whole thing, it comes down to, like, when I was working with a couple guys, they had exited a business for a few $1 million 3 or 4 years ago, and they wanted to build something bigger. They wanted to build a $100 million business as their goal. And I'm like, okay, fantastic, like no problem. And so I started coaching and working with them. And the problem I saw immediately was they actually had two businesses. So they had built and sold a business doing something that they knew. They had built a new business that was somewhat similar. So they already knew this very well, selling a certain kind of products that are manufactured overseas. But then they also had this other business, and they wanted to build both simultaneously. This other business was a health supplement business. And the more I asked them about that business, the more I realized they don't know anything about that. They don't really know selling health supplements very well. They don't really know how the marketing works for that business very well. And they're smart guys. They could 100% learn it. But I'm like, guys, if you want to build a big business, you got to decide where you're going to put your attention. And my advice, 100%, and I'm usually not subtle with this kind of thing, my advice 100% is to put that business on the back burner. And secretly, I don't think they should ever go back to it. But, you know, a lot of people don't want to say no forever. So let's just say no for now. And so then they started focusing on this other business. And I started helping them grow that thing on new sales channels they didn't know, selling direct to consumer, using paid advertising, doing stuff outside of Amazon, which is kind of where they really knew. And that business has just grown like a rocket ship. Just in the past 6 or 7 months, it's already doubled or tripled in size. They've added in a completely new marketing channel they had no experience with. They've already added $1 million in annualized sales to that business. And the whole first decision, which we're going to get into very soon, into where to focus inside the business to drive growth. But the first decision you have to make is, where do you focus outside of that business? Are you trying to pursue 12 different other projects or multiple businesses like we all like to do? Because my business partner, he's done this great in our new business because he basically got rid of everything else. He was doing all kinds of side hustles and side projects. He said, forget that, I'm going to focus 100% on this business. And that's helped us immensely. And that's basically what I told these guys to do. So that's the first step. Stop pursuing these side projects and just focus on one thing. And the next thing, it's a secret that I've never heard anybody talk about outside of one guy, but especially not just in core growing and building businesses. So Warren Buffett, speaking of investing, once said, you know, in investing, like, we don't get points for difficulty. If you go research some super obscure company that's going public and has products nobody understands, and sure, maybe you double your money, triple your money, quadruple your money, but why not just take this boring business selling chewing gum and also double, triple, or quadruple your money? Like, you don't get points for difficulty. You either make money or you don't. This isn't like diving, or like, I do a bit of wake surfing and I've never competed, but in wake surfing, it's like diving where like you get points for the risk you take, for the difficulty of the maneuver. That's how that whole sport kind of works in competition. In business, it does not work like that. You either make money or you don't. So why not do the simplest thing possible? So choose the thing you already know. Choose a business that you model after somebody else. These are all great ways to set yourself up for success. So now that you kind of understand the foundation of what we're going to talk about, let me show you a quick model. And this is going to make all this way more clear about how to 10x your business while actually doing less. All right, so I call this the value engine, or the 1-1-1 method. And so you only need these 3 things to be able to scale your business, whether your goal is $10 million or even more. Whatever your goal is, this is going to allow you to dramatically scale your business while doing a heck of a lot less. And so there's really only 3 components we're going to be after. And so first off, let's just say your goal is to double your business. The only 3 things that we need to focus on is 1 really good funnel, 1 good traffic source, and 1 good product. And I'm going to work through this clockwise and handle product last, because I find most people, they already have a product that they can scale. And we'll get to that though. And so you may want to add another product, or this may be your first product. So either way, we're going to talk about that. But let's first talk about the funnel. So what you're after when it comes to building a good funnel, the first thing and the main goal that you want to accomplish is something that I call high visitor value. And so visitor value is basically how much money you extract from every visitor to your page that you're trying to sell people on. Because the way that you win at this whole game of modern advertising or even organic traffic from influencers, even retail shops, which is crazy, brick and mortar retail shops, is if you make more money per visitor than all your competitors, you win. So that's the whole goal of the funnel. Because you imagine like everyone running ads on the biggest platforms out there, and everyone putting organic content on the biggest platforms out there, and everyone getting influencers that have thousands of brands reaching out to them. How do any of these platforms or people decide who they want to promote? It's whoever's going to make them the most money. And so if you make more money per visitor than all your competitors, you win. All the traffic ends up flowing to you. So high visitor value, which is your conversion rate, the number of people that buy from you relative to the number of people who check out and find out that you even exist, times your lifetime value, which is basically how much you make per customer on average over 1 to 3 years. You make a lot of money per customers, you convert a lot of visitors into buyers, you have a high visitor value. So that's the first thing we want to accomplish. Now, when it comes to traffic, the whole goal with traffic is to get customers for free. You don't need to go out there and make a ton of money up front from traffic. Your whole goal is to just get customers for free. Because if you can get customers for free, you can sell them other things, you can promote stuff on other channels. And this is basically what we do in our business today. So we get customers for free running Facebook ads and about $1 million worth of traffic every single month, including a lot of different platforms. And we send them to our Shopify store. Typically, we're just trying to break even on getting those customers. And that allows us to build a base of, I think we've had something like 750,000 buyers so far on Shopify. Then a lot of that ends up bleeding off over into Amazon and also signing up for subscription. But all that's free for us because we've already paid for them on Shopify without it costing us anything. So the whole goal with traffic is to get customers for free. And then on the product side, the main goal is you want what I would call a category of one. Now you can build your funnel with a high visitor value and get customers for free with just about any product you have. I've coached people selling the world's most boring products in the most boring categories, and they've been able to make this machine work. But it all becomes even better when you've got a great product. So how are you going to accomplish these things? So there's a few different ways. On the visitor value side with your funnel, there's really a few different things. So first, research and copy. So this is basically figuring out who are you going to sell this thing to and how are you going to convince them to buy. And so that's your first goal, is to figure out how you provide good copy to the right kinds of buyers. And now you can do a lot of this stuff with AI, which is awesome. So research and copy, then you need a template. And so when it comes to deciding how you're going to sell people, 9 times out of 10 today, I'm telling people to build what's called a listicle, which is just a list of reasons to buy your product. That's literally what the landing page looks like. So if you go to any major media site out there, you're going to find lists of stuff. Top 10 summer vacations, top 10 jackets you should buy, top 10 ways to reduce inflammation. All of those content formats have made people believe that that is not selling something. So nowadays, you can use that format and sell whatever you want. And so I would use that format as your template, and then something like Claude to go out there and actually build the page for you. So you can have AI write the copy and do some of the research for you. You can have Claude or any other AI tool, but I prefer Claude, to actually create the page for you, and I prefer a listicle format. And then the only last piece is an offer. So with your offer, all you're really trying to do is convince people to buy now. You're basically trying to appeal to their emotions and also appeal to their logic. And so that includes elements such as proof. You want to include some element of scarcity inside of your offer and some sort of discount. As long as you have those elements, you will be able to convince people to buy. So when it comes to engineering the right kind of funnel, you want to have good research and good copy, which you can do with AI. Then you want to use a template. I recommend using a listicle. Then you want to have an offer that tells people, why should I buy right now? And the other key part about an offer is, why should I buy more? That's the big thing. Is because most people I find that are used to selling one unit at a time and stuff, they never get anywhere with their funnel because they're not selling enough at any given time. And so this is all you have to do. If you do this with just one funnel, you could throw away all your other funnels. This is how you simplify your business. You can forget doing everything else that you're doing. You don't need, for the first year and a half, I think we got to 2.5 million in the first year, 16 million in the second year. So we were doing something like 16 million a year. We literally just had one page. We tested it a bunch. We tested our offers. We tested some different templates. We tested our research and copy, but we didn't even care about the main website of our store. We literally funneled everything into one web page. So you could almost say that we had a one-page business. I think that's a good way to scale to $10 million. And in most cases, for most people, that's going to be 10xing your business or more if you're starting from scratch. So one funnel is all you need. Then on the traffic side, I recommend starting with ads. Ads, because it's easy to scale, you have 100% control over it, and if you can get customers for free, they don't cost you any money. Now, people love organic content, they love just posting stuff on social media, but I can tell you from creating content like this myself, it's a pain in the butt. And it's not free. It costs a whole lot of money, whole lot of time, so there's nothing magical about free content. I like ads because you don't have to get in front of a camera. Most people don't want to do that. And you can scale them up tomorrow. You could start running ads today or tomorrow on platforms like Facebook with as little as $1 a day budget, and you can start picking up momentum. And so the biggest platform today is Meta advertising, which includes Facebook and Instagram. Whole game over there is to have a wide variety of ads. Then all you do is feed the machine. If you have a good funnel, that's 90% of the battle in getting something to convert. The other part is just creating a wide variety of ads. And then all you have to do is keep feeding that to Facebook, and eventually with a good enough funnel, they'll end up finding you the right kind of buyers. So that's when it comes to optimizing, which in simple terms, like the easiest way to optimize is you launch a bunch of ads, then you cut off the stuff that's not working, and you do more of the stuff that is working. And then you keep testing some new stuff. That's the entire process. In about 15 seconds, that's how to optimize ads. Now, agencies and everything will want to tell you it's way more complicated than that, but trust me, it's not. And then if you want to, but you don't have to, because just with ads on places like Meta, simple optimization, which you can do in about an hour a week, you can get customers for free up to $1 million a month or so. Like, you don't even have to look at another platform if you want. But once you have this machine working with the right kind of funnel, the right kind of ads and optimization happening on those ads, you can expand if you want. We expanded to affiliates, we expanded to Google ads, we expanded to TikTok ads, we expanded organic stuff. We try to get traffic from everywhere because we have a larger team now, but you don't have to. To get to double the size of your current business if you want, you can get there just with this first part. But if you want to, this whole machine will already be working, so you can start expanding and adding other channels. So that alone can help double your business. But if you want to add gasoline to the fire, then you can look at a better product. So when it comes to a better product, the first thing is you want a big market. The biggest mistake I see people make with products in their businesses is they try to sell this tiny little product that even if they dominate it, it's never going to amount to anything. I at one point had a call with this nice older couple, and they sold these little toy pop gun things. And for them, they dominated their market and they were trying to figure out how to grow. They were doing like 30 grand a month, which is basically hardly anything. But the problem is they were number one on Amazon, number one on Google, number one everywhere. And that was it. They owned the market. The market wasn't growing anywhere because nobody wants those things other than like a little novelty kid product. So you want a big market that can expand. And so a lot of the best brands today, they go after these massive markets and then they use their ads to find a lot of different ways to sell that same product. We've done this with Life Boost, people that have stomach issues, people that just want to be healthier, people that care about the environment. We can cover all of those angles with our one product. Grüns, the billion-dollar gummy vitamin brand, has did this. They appealed to people that wanted weight loss, people that wanted gut health, people that wanted daily nutrition. The same product because they had a massive market. Then you just start by carving out your little niche of there. And so you go after this big market, you take your funnel and your ads, and you're like, this certain segment of this market seems very popular, but nobody's really going after those people yet. So we're gonna go after them with our funnel and our ads, and then we're gonna wedge ourselves into this market and then expand from there. That's exactly what we did. With a business that'll do 60 million plus this year, we basically started with specifically people that had stomach issues and they wanted low acid coffee. But now we're expanding into retail and everywhere else by going after a broader section of that market that just wants better health. So that's the first thing. Then the next thing is a high LTV product. So LTV just means lifetime value. So another big mistake people make on their products is they sell low margin, one-time purchase products. So this is like typical of Amazon sellers, but also people in other markets as well, even non-e-commerce stuff, is they'll sell something where they're like, all right, we fought really hard, we created our funnel, we ran our ads, and now we made 50 bucks selling this thing. So now we gotta go find another customer. We gotta make sure our funnel's working, we gotta go back to ads, we gotta optimize, we make another 50 bucks. And they never get anywhere. And so what you want is a high lifetime value product, and there's really two ways to do it. The first way is you sell a subscription product. And that doesn't fit with every brand, but if you can sell a subscription product, fantastic. A lot of the brands that have scaled up the best recently are selling a product where maybe they only make like 20 bucks up front. Maybe they make $0 up front, but they know over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, those people are worth hundreds of dollars to them. So they're willing to spend, $50, $60, $75 up front to get to a customer because they're just printing money later on. So that's one model. The other model is a high margin one-time purchase product. So I'm coaching some guys that are selling a product that right now they're running a bit of a discount, but their ultimate price is going to be about $250. This is not a repeat purchase product, but you can buy it as a gift. You can buy multiple yourselves, but at that, it kind of caps out, which is totally fine. If you're making $100+ per unit, you don't need subscription. You just need to sell more units. No problem whatsoever. So if you're going to sell a product that's non-subscription, you better make sure that you make a lot of money per unit. And so one of those two models, high margin one-time purchase product or subscription, gives you a high lifetime value. The last step of the product side is continual improvement. And so I once met a guy who was doing about $2 million a month selling products, and they were basically unbranded. Like he didn't care about branding or any of that kind of stuff. Not the best model in my opinion, but I was like, how are you doing $2 million a month and you don't even care about building a brand or website or whatever? And he was like, I just improve the products with every time I reorder them. He's like, that's it. His products are getting featured on like the morning show. He had like an umbrella that was very popular. It was just because he improved the product every time. Because if you build this machine, and when you build this machine, you have a good funnel, you have good ads, you got a big market, high lifetime value, like you're crushing it. You've got a simple business, one funnel, one traffic, one product. There's gonna be people who come after you. And the way you stay ahead of those people is really by continually improving your product. So nobody can ever come in and be like, oh, this other company does everything the same, even at the same price, but their product is slightly better. This allows you to stay ahead. Now you can have somebody else do this, no problem, but somebody needs to be continually improving the product. Just like you're continually improving your funnel, like you're continually improving your ad, it's all the same thing. And so this is the model to double your business and actually end up working less. Because it may seem like a lot, but if you were to count up the number of ways people can buy from you now, the amount of ways people find out that you exist, and the number of products you sell, my guess is it's more than one of each. But if you cut all that stuff out and just focused on one of each of these, you could build a much bigger business. I mean, the example I love to get is Red Bull that got to $1 billion a year in sales with one 8.4 ounce can. They never added another single product for the first 15 years, not even a different can size. That's a good business. That's where we kind of want to be in. And so the way you make this whole machine work is what most people do is they come up with an idea and they're like, great, I want to start a business. And then they go out there and they create a product. Then they do some marketing. Then somebody tells them they need systems. So they add some systems. And then they have another idea. They're like, okay, I got this business working. So then what do they do next? They add another product. They do more marketing. They add more systems. and then they have another idea, and then do more product, another marketing, more systems, and they have another idea. And then what ends up happening? They get burnt out and frustrated, and their profit goes down. And then if they stick after it, maybe they end up being able to squeak by and sell this thing. What happens to most people is they end up burning out and the business crashes. So the way to improve this is you apply that model that we just discussed that I call the value engine, and that allows you to get to the situation where you end up building this machine and then you finally get free. And the only real last step that you have to do to make all this works is you say forget systems and you focus on replacement. What do I mean by that? I mean, the way you scale a business to any meaningful size is not writing SOPs. It's not using AI to do a bunch of documentation. That's not what matters. Is you find good people, the best people you can afford to run this whole machine. You let other people manage your funnel, manage your traffic, manage your product, and that's how you get free. That's how you get to the promised land and get free forever. This is how you double your business while removing yourself from 80% of day-to-day operations while actually doing less. So the reason I started thinking about all this stuff, because I was just kind of doing all this in my head while I was building the new business after my chaotic experience building the first business, is that I started seeing more and more people, because I've been helping people build businesses for like 17 years now. So I've helped almost 40,000 people start businesses and have had a lot of influence on a lot of people in certain areas of the business world. But then I started catching up with some of these people, and they'd been at it for a long time. Some of them were doing $1 million a year, $2 million, $3, $4, $5 million a year, but they weren't free yet. And I was like, you're putting in so many hours. Like I've got one guy I know that I was skiing with a bit and stuff, and he's been building his business for over a decade, and they do a few million bucks a year, but he is not free. And it's because of some of these things that we've talked about here. He hasn't applied this model fully to his business. So I started thinking about this stuff, and I was like, man, I would love to help these people, because I hate seeing entrepreneurs that first off are struggling to even build the business, but when they build the business, then the business basically runs their entire lives. And so I believe this machine is how you get free. So I ended up launching something that I call the value engine. We've helped people build businesses basically from, they were really dominating on one channel, specifically like Amazon. They had no idea how to scale with their better product, with their funnels, and with their ads outside of that channel. And they've been able to more than double their business while also scaling up entirely new channels to over 7 figures a year. So if you're interested in getting those kind of results, and especially if you own an e-commerce business that's doing at least $1 million a year, click the link below and send me that keyword to my Instagram DMs, and I'll see if it's kind of a good fit and if there's any open spots. And if not, no problem whatsoever. If you're not interested, no problem whatsoever. Check it out, send me a DM, and I'll let you know what the next steps are, because we'd love to have you in there if you own like a 7-figure e-commerce business, because the results people are getting are insane. And it's really my mission now. I still want to help people get started in business, but it's really after seeing everything I've seen, I want to help the people that are doing, at least $1 million a year, because you've got something going, figure out how to put the pieces together to get free forever. Because I believe the real freedom starts when you get a business that's doing about at least $10 million a year, but you've also figured out this whole machine of how to create the simplest business possible that achieves all your goals. One funnel, one traffic source, one product, and then you have a whole group of people, doesn't need to be big, to basically run this whole machine for you. Then you're done. I literally just went wake surfing the other day. This buddy of mine invited me because he had put in place the final stages of this whole system that I call the CEO dashboard, where he basically is able to run his business in about 5 minutes a day plus like an hour a month meeting. That's the final stages of this whole thing, and that's why he's out there wake surfing with me on a Wednesday, because he's got nothing else he has to do, which is a whole problem in and of itself, but it's a good problem to have. And so if you're interested, see the information below. If not, no problem.